Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Lens Productions as we continue our exploration of the Pontiac Grand Prix. Before we do, what did you think of the 1969 Steam Power Grand Prix? If you missed that video, I'll put a card in the top right for you to go back and view that one if you like. I thought it was a very cool and interesting idea, so please let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. Today we are going to pick up where we left off with the 1970 GP. This generation would see minimal changes in comparison to earlier years due to a few factors which we'll discuss below. Due to the great success of the 1969 Grand Prix and the fact that the redesign the year before was so immensely successful, little was changed for this year. The grille was revised, now featuring vertical slats and vertical hash marks that appeared on the fenders just behind the front wheels. New interior upholstery, patterns, and reintroduction of the bench seat basically rounded out the visual changes for this year. Under the hood, there was a new optional engine, while the 350 horse 400 was still standard, and the low compression 400 two-barrel and automatic were still no-cost options, and the 428s were retired this year. In their place was a 455 four-barrel with 370 horsepower and an axle snapping 500 foot-pounds of torque. Although the peak horsepower was down slightly due to the sharp increase in torque, this difference in horsepower was really barely noticeable. Unfortunately, sales plummeted by more than 40% this year. Not really due to any fault of the Grand Prix, but it was more GM and how Chevy and Oldsmobile both released two competing vehicles, the Monte Carlo and the Cutlass Supreme respectively, which both ate into the Grand Prix sales this year. While they are considered G-bodies and shared the GP's roof line, they did not share any sheet metal. The Monte Carlo used a 116-inch four-door A-body chassis, which was 2 inches shorter in wheelbase than the GP, and the Olds Cutlass Supreme also used a Grand Prix roof line with its own lower sheet metal with just 112 inches of wheelbase. It too ate in the GP sales. The 1971 promotional catalog told its readers that, quote, "You don't mess with a classic. Refine it maybe, hone it, of course. It's just that we take our refining and honing very seriously," end quote. And they did. While the 71 GP was not a complete redesign, it was a tasteful sheet metal refreshing that accentuated an already solid design. It was a bit more formal, yet still possessing a sporty flair. The new look also brought some additional consistency between it and the full-size line. Up front, the dual headlamp arrangement was replaced by a single headlamp treatment with larger vertical slatted grills. The grill tied in well with the two-tiered bumper. The signal lights remained on the leading edge of the front fenders. Likewise, the rear end design was updated for a more formal look. The deck lid was sculpted into a modified boat tail design, and the taillights were set into the bumper, which also carried a rather sculpted motif. Under the hood, there was some forced revisions made in the name of cleaner air and in response to the government's new Clean Air Act. Unfortunately, the days of high compression V8s were sadly over. GM, along with other manufacturers, were being forced into lower compression ratios for compatibility with low lead and unleaded fuels that were just on the horizon at this point. Contrary to popular belief, though, Pontiac did not harden their exhaust valve seats until 1975, as they knew that true unleaded fuel would not become mainstream for a long time yet. They did not want to run up the additional costs that would be incurred by the hardening of these parts. These new government regulations also meant a drop in horsepower in these engines, and only two engines were being offered this year: a 404 barrel that put out 300 gross horsepower and 255 net horsepower, and an automatic that 455 4 barrel that grossed 325 horsepower and 260 net horsepower. Production for the 71 GPs fell again, due both in part due to the interbrand competition as well as the 1971 recession. Sales fell to just over 58,000 units, which included only 116 manuals. Why so few manuals? Well, part of it was due to the fact people just weren't ordering them. I guess they were kind of starting to get used to the idea and the convenience of having an automatic and not having to shift gears, as well as the fact that in March 1971, automatic transmissions became standard equipment on the Grand Prix. 1972, this year, was carried over with very few changes from 1971 and marked the last year of the revolutionary John DeLorean long hood short deck lid G-body design. And an all-new GP was just on the horizon, but due to GM's infamous strike in the 1970s that disrupted production and many plans for GM all across North America, it also forced Pontiac to carry over last year's design with few changes and just keep that design around for one more year. Production of the GP rose sharply this year to almost 92,000 units. So after a rough go with this generation of GP due to some of the factors discussed here, some pretty impressive numbers are just on the horizon for this car. So please tune in to the next episode very soon as we take a look at the next generation of the Grand Prix and some of the sales records that are about to be set. Thank you for watching today and have yourselves a great day. Don't forget to like the video before you leave a comment below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of any upcoming videos. Thank you for watching and have a great day.